Derby County are rumoured to be chasing the signature of Lincoln City star midfielder Ethan Erhahon, and he is attracting interest from a range of different Championship clubs. And this is going to be a big conversation for Derby because their fans should know a lot about Ethan, as we played against him a couple of times back in League One against Lincoln City. But what has opened the door for this move, obviously, last summer, there was a few conversations around Ethan and about his potential to move clubs and if that was potentially going to happen. And ultimately it didn't, because they went on a terrific run towards the end of last season and found themselves just outside the playoffs. But this season they found themselves massive 17 points away from Leyton Orient, who finished in 6th place. And that opens the door for a move to be on the cards. Now, you will have already seen, or you may see in the next few days, a video from me on Powdy O'Connor, another Lincoln City player, but he's a defender, centre-half, who Derby County could potentially pick up at the end of their contract. And I do believe that Ethan is a very, very good player. I do believe that he could have an impact at Derby County. I do believe that he could make Derby County better. But is it the right move, and who are the other teams interested? Now, the report suggests that there's 6 clubs chasing after Ethan Erhahon, including the likes of Plymouth Argyle, the likes of Preston North End, but most notably and more recently so, Derby County, Millwall, Blackburn and Oxford United are the clubs keeping tabs on Ethan Erhahon. And he's been fantastic over the course of the last 2 years, maybe 2.5 years. And it's really important to note that if he is to leave Lincoln City, it's going to be for a club record fee at Lincoln, because the most they've ever received is £640,000. And in my opinion, there's no way he goes for anything less than 1.5 million, £2 million, in my opinion. And I just think he's an unbelievable player. This season is 2024-25 stats. 31 matches played, 83% pass completion, 1.8 interceptions per game, 1.6 tackles per game, 5.8 ball recoveries and 2 big chances created. Now, is he the right player for Derby County to go for? I'm not entirely sure. I think there's a lot of discussions to have around Ethan, and obviously he's sitting here at 24 years of age. He needs to make that step up to the Championship over the course of the next few weeks. Realistically, this season, it's not the end of his football career if he doesn't. He will get that opportunity eventually, but it's one of those where he's getting to that age now where you're not really talking about potential anymore. You're talking about what he can do and how he can do it. And I think that's going to be the big question with Ethan Erhahon heading into sort of next season, if he does make that move to Derby County. And obviously this season, across the course of all competitions, 38 games, only 1 assist. So he's not sort of your midfielder who's going to create you a ton of chances, but he's going to keep the ball moving. He's going to win the ball back. He's, in my opinion, a great defensive midfielder. And I think partnering him with someone like a Kenzo Helpmine, maybe even an Oscar Frulo, who I will have spoke about in a video either earlier or in the coming days, I think it's the right move for Derby County. Now, if we look at his positional chart and where he can play and things like that, it is mainly central. Centre-back, central midfield, defensive midfield, attacking midfield. He has made appearances at left-back and left wing-back, but that's not really his game. He's a defender, and that's where he wants to be. He wants to be in that defensive midfield position. He wants to be picking up loose balls. He wants to be making tackles, and he wants to be progressing the ball. And that's what Derby County need. It's what Derby County have needed for a long period of this season. And in my opinion, realistically, it's what Derby County needed since Max Bird left. I'm not saying Max Bird was a excellent progressor of the ball, but he was the best progressor of the ball that Derby County had in League One, and we lost that to Bristol City. Is now essentially playing in a 10 role for Bristol City, but that's a completely different conversation. But for me, I think Ethan could be an excellent signing. 24 years old, so he's still got room to grow. Not a great deal of room, I will hasten to add, as I spoke about earlier in this video. There's still sort of development that can come. He can still become a better player. Now, the problem that we have with this conversation is no one seems to know when his contract expires. There's nothing on Transfer Market. I can't seem to find anything on Google either about his contract. But I'm imagining if he's available for transfer this winter, I'm imagining it's within the next 2 years. Or maybe they've got a year plus an option. And I think that Lincoln City are going to want to cash in, especially given the position they've been in. Now, realistically, can Derby County pick up this talented midfielder over the other teams that are interested? Obviously a Millwall, a Blackburn, an Oxford. And I personally do believe so. I think we can. But what I think the question has to be is, how are Derby County going to shape that midfield? You look at the midfield unit from last year of Armstrong, Eber and Thompson, and I don't think that is what Derby County need heading into next year. I think Derby County need a creator, a dictator, and a bruiser, essentially. So Eber Adams, Kenzo, and somebody else to sit in there. And then obviously they need backups for those positions as well. Now, I believe Ethan could play in both sort of that bruiser role or in that sort of dictator role. And I think he'd be really good at those roles. Now, obviously the question is going to be about, does he have the ability to step up next season? And I think what we've seen over the course of recent years is that he certainly has the ability to play at the top end of League One at minimum, if not the mid-table of the Championship. And ultimately, I've said it for a long time that you don't know how good someone is until you put them in that position. And I've said it about a lot of our young players. I've said it about a lot of players who Derby County have chased after. You can even have the conversation about even Lars Jørgen Selverson, where we've still not really seen if he's capable of playing at this level because he's not really played. Now, give Ethan a year in the Championship, you'll obviously have a full understanding of if he can cope. And I do believe that he will be able to. Now, he's valued at around £900,000 on transfer market, but I wouldn't read into that too much because I believe it's going to be well within £1 to £2 million easily to pick him up. He's Scottish, which means that realistically you can chuck an add-on in there about international football and things like that, and you then sort of have those conversations of, if he's good enough to play international football, he's going to be good enough for the Championship. And I do believe that he probably is good enough for the Championship, and I do believe he would improve Derby County in our current predicament. Now, obviously, the question is going to then fall on sort of Lincoln City in their sort of position, and how I believe it's Skubala, who's the manager there, is going to sort of view it. And that's like a similar conversation to what I had about Powdy O'Connor, who has obviously been a massive part of their defensive unit, is out of contract, he's their captain. Is he going to want to move to a club where he's not going to be captain and where he could potentially not really play? And that could be the same with Ethan. Move clubs to a team where you're not really going to know the setup, you might not be a key player, whereas he is a key player right now. Now, obviously, at Lincoln City, if you want to talk about them a little bit more, is it Sean Ruhan or Rohan, the left back who's 21 years old? He's rumoured to be in talks with a Championship club at the moment. So that could be 3 of their starting 11 who potentially move on this summer that they've got to replace. And then you've also got to look at some of the other players in the team, like a James Collins, who Collins is a bagsman at League One, but that's another player who they're going to have to look and sort of go, who can we bring in over the course of the next year or so, who can sort of take away from sort of the pressure on James Collins at, what is he, 34, 35 now? And these are the conversations that have to be had about Lincoln City and about whether Derby County can actually make this deal happen. Now, I believe that he would be a great signing for Derby County. I believe it's going to cost in the region of £1 to £2 million, as I've mentioned a few times. And I can't see... I think it'll end up in a bidding war, if I'm completely honest, between those teams that are interested. Whether Derby County ends up being one of them will be a conversation for another day. But you can obviously let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell to stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County content. Let me know your thoughts down below. Hit that like button and I'll catch you in the next one.